Okay, so welcome to MX versus ATV Supercross Encore, and this is something quite a bit different. I had a few people wanting to see a tips and tricks tutorial, I guess, of this game, and by no means am I the best player or anything. There's tons and tons and tons of people that are a lot better than I am out there, but I guess I can give you some of the tips that I use to play this game, and if you're like super new to the game or whatever it may be, hopefully it's a little bit helpful and you can add it to your own play style, riding style, and maybe it'll help. Now, I do freeze the video quite a few times, and I add in some other clips into it, so hopefully it makes sense and you can follow it to a certain degree, and it's somewhat entertaining, and maybe somewhat you can learn a few things if you aren't already pro at the game, I guess. And again, I'm gonna say it a bunch. I'm not telling you that this is the way to play it to be the best. This is just how I play it. So first off, we're going to freeze it right here. We're going to freeze the video, and this is a tight corner. And I know a lot of people complain about Supercross feeling like riding around on ice or not being able to turn the bike. I understand that argument. And for me, what I do to turn really tight corners like that is I'll brake into the corner, and then then I'll stop braking. I'll lean both the thumbsticks, both analog sticks to the direction I want to turn, and then use the throttle to use the back tire, the throttle, the gas to steer the bike, to turn it around. I have a couple examples here. But yes, I go back and forth here showing it a little bit. I'll brake, lean, and then give it gas to turn the bike around, and then hit the clutch a lot to get going, get back up to speed. Again, well, here, we'll wait. We'll go brake, lean, give it gas, turn the bike, and then mash the clutch. You can see the clutch in the bottom right-hand corner, the blinking yellow light, so you can tell when I'm clutching. But that's how I turn tight corners. Use the back tire to turn it. So brake, lean, give it gas, turn, and then clutch, if that makes sense. That's how I turn tight corners, and usually it works pretty good. Sometimes it doesn't work, but for the most part it does. I think that's a good way. And I use the 4-stroke because maybe not everyone's gonna have the 250 stroke or buy the DLC or whatnot. Everyone can have the 450, so it works for both bikes, and that's how I turn it. I used it there. I did it there somewhat to some degree, and I think it works really well. It's not always on the tight corners either. Sometimes I do it on any corner. It just works really well to use the back tire to turn the bike around, and then use the clutch to get up to speed. The clutch is your best friend in this game. We're gonna freeze it. I thought that worked really well because that's where I'm throwing a whip already, I guess, but when I whip, it's different than scrubbing for me. When I whip, I lean back before I take off the jump, and then I don't really start whipping it out to the left or right until I'm already in the air, and I'm trying to get the back tire up, like to the clouds, to the sky, not in front of me so much, more up and out. And I have a couple examples coming up here, but that's how I whip. And again, I don't whip a lot. A lot of people criticize the fact that I don't whip or scrub enough, but that's how I do it. That's how I whip and how I scrub. I know they're not pretty, I know they're not the best, but that's how I do it. And again, this is just my opinion, and this is just how I play the game. So I think I throw a couple whips here. So I'm leaning back, and then we're trying to whip it up to the sky a little bit. And landing perfectly straight isn't necessarily terribly important. You can kind of get by with landing a little bit crooked sometimes, but that's how I whip. It's something I do after I've left the face of the jump. I didn't start turning until right after I leave the takeoff, the face of the jump. And again, landing perfectly straight isn't the most important thing in the world. Okay, this corner coming up I thought was a really good example, so we'll freeze it right here. And this corner has given me problems before already. With the oversized brakes, I run the stock brakes, not the oversized ones. In the original Supercross game, it wasn't so bad, and I ran the oversized ones, but now they added the out-of-control animation, and for some reason, if you brake too late or too hard into a corner, and you're trying to turn, you'll do this like 360 spin. Sometimes you'll end up off the track, sometimes you'll go down. With the stock brakes, you might not have as much braking power, but you have more control over it. So I always run the stock brakes. And I am in this on the 250 as well, but I do cut here after a little bit to using a 450 with the oversized brakes, and I do over-exaggerate it quite a bit, but it has happened to me. You've probably seen it already happen in some of the videos that I've already done, where I will get this weird out-of-control animation, or I'll do a complete 360 or end up off the track, which is a huge pain in the butt, and it's happened to me a lot in this specific corner, so I thought right here was a really good place to talk about it, I guess. And that's one of the most frustrating things for me is the braking sometimes. Not so much the turning or the even sometimes feeling like ice. It's the braking. That's the biggest troubles for me. But I know I put 2 examples in here on the 450 again. All the examples will be on the 450. And it's just, I don't know. I over-exaggerate this quite a bit, but I go into the corner hotter than I normally would just to get it to show that. See, we got a little out of control. You can see in his upper body, and then the bike does that 360 spin, which is so frustrating. It's so frustrating, especially when you're battling for the lead or something in multiplayer, or even against the AI. It's just, I don't even know what to say. So I don't run the oversized brakes, and I brake a little late sometimes. I don't brake so... I'll brake early, I mean. I'll brake early sometimes just to avoid it. I'd rather go into the corner a tad slower than get that horrible, horrible spin around effect, I guess. Whatever you want to call it. And we're going to freeze it here again. I preloaded over the finish line jump because with this one, the 250, you can easily clear it, but I kind of came out of that corner funny, so I had to preload. Preloading is kind of tough for me. I either get a full preload or a half preload. To get a full preload, I'll go click down and up all the way on the right analog stick. Right before I leave the takeoff, right before I leave the face of the jump, I'll click down and up on the right analog stick in a controlled manner. It doesn't have to be really quick to get a full preload. And then to get a partial preload, I'll click down and then halfway up to get a half one, or quarter of the way up to get a quarter preload. Click all the way down and then partial of the way back up to get a partial preload, I guess. But what I mainly want to show you is the fact that if you get really out of control, you can use the clutch and the preload to easily get over things. Here I preloaded, did a full preload, and clutched once, and we could only double. We could only double there with one clutch and the preload. Here I mash the clutch button and get a full preload, and we overjump the triple from a dead stop. So basically what I'm trying to say is that you can get yourself out of a bad situation by mashing the clutch and preloading. Here we're going to freeze it one more time, and in this section I was trying to scrub a little bit. It wasn't the greatest, but when I scrub it's different than when I whip. When I scrub, I'm leaning to the left or to the right really hard with both analog sticks before I even leave the jump. I'm doing it on the face of the jump already, and I will hold it like that over the jump to let him swing his back end of the bike around in front of him quite a bit. And that's how I scrub. Again, I don't throw the greatest scrubs in the world or anything like that, but that's personally how I scrub. So I got a couple examples here I'll show you, but it's something that I'm doing as I'm leaving the jump. It's not something I'm doing afterwards. So we'll come around the corner and then lean hard right there, scrub, and then lean hard again. And again, it's just like the whips. You don't have to land perfectly straight. Sometimes when I scrub, he just tilts the bike sideways. It's not the prettiest thing. It's not the most realistic looking thing either, but it is effective to some degree. Like down that section, that rhythm section there with the tables, he just kind of leaned the bike. Again, I think I just do this one more time here. We'll scrub maybe twice and then scrub again. So I'm doing it before I even leave the face of the jump. And that's how I'm scrubbing. It's different than whipping. It's different. And for me, that's the easiest way to do it. I don't know if there's might be other ways too, but I don't know. So that's the tutorial. It was kind of a short little video and tried to cram a lot into one video. But thank you so much for the support on this series. It really means a lot. I hope this was somewhat entertaining or laid out halfway decent. I wasn't sure how to. This was the best way I could think of doing it. And like I said, this is there's tons of people out there a lot better than I am. So I'm not saying this is the best way or the fastest way or the right way to play the game. It's just how I do. So if you were looking for a few tips, I guess there you go. But thank you so much for everything. You guys and girls are absolutely amazing as always. And until the next video, take it easy.